And we got a great guy, someone who's a patriot, someone who has suffered for this country 4 years in the gulag. And, of course, I'm talking about the one and only Jake Lang, who is now officially announced for the Senate down in the great state of Florida. He's on the road campaigning today and joining us here. Hey, Senator, how are you? Welcome.
Jeff, my brother, thank you. That's a pretty big difference between political prisoner as being my title to, current United States Senate candidate in the great state of Florida, running for Marco Rubio's open seat. I believe that, God has opened up a door for the Jan Sixers that have suffered, like you said, for this country. We bled. We sacrificed, and now it's our time to turn that sacrifice, as God would have us do, into a new age of golden prosperity here in America. And that's what He's put on my heart, and so that's what I'm setting out to do.
Was there a time when you were behind bars and you were being, shuffled between one prison to another, when you were thrown into solitary confinement, when you were abused by these prison guards? Was there a time that you said to yourself, heck, I'm going to run for office? When did that thought enter your mind, Jake?
Well, it was somewhere between day 10 and day 11 of my hunger strike, when I was living in my cell with the MS-13. How close our country has come. Rachel, pull over here. Sorry if it's a little choppy. I'm gonna pull over here for you guys. Somewhere between day 10 and 11, when my father came to visit me inside the Brooklyn Federal Detention Center, Brooklyn, New York, most dangerous prison in America. It really struck me that, our country is in danger, and weaponization of the government against the people is, honestly, it was the closest thing that's ever came to taking down America. And so I believe that, God has called the Jan Sixers to basically carry the torch of the Trump agenda for, this great country. We're going to need leadership like Trump's for the next 25 to 30 years to pull ourselves out of this huge hole that we've dug ourselves in, entrenching ourselves in this federal bureaucracy. It's like an octopus with tentacles spreading out through every state, county, and local area is pretty much under the thumb of the federal government. And so, me running for United States Senate, I believe, kind of marks the era of real populist 1776 patriotism, taking back over all three branches of government. And, we have the executive, but as we know right now, the judicial branch is running rampant, flying in the face of the will of the people.
And you know what, Jake, you encountered that. You encountered that judicial tyranny through your whole process. I mean, you were never treated fairly. You never even had a day in court, did you? I mean, it was you never even had due process. You were thrown into prison without even a conviction. So, yeah, we've got a major problem with our judiciary, and certainly that needs to be addressed. On your X page, we've been highlighting, the federal watchdog. Tell our viewers a little bit about that.
So Federal Watchdog is the new legal group that is basically sprung out of the ashes of the persecution of January 6th. Currently, we have a great legal team all structured together for a $50 billion lawsuit for the accountability, the restitution, the wrongful incarceration, compensation for the Jan Sixers. So, this is going to be something that I think it's going to be one of the biggest lawsuits ever filed against the Department of Justice. And I'm praying that we have a quick, with the new Trump administration, we're not really fighting against our enemies in the Department of Justice, but I want to make sure that the new Trump administration and the way that this goes down makes it look like they're righting the wrongs, which they truly are, of the past regime. We don't want to make this lawsuit look like, it's Jan Sixers versus Trump. It's really Jan Sixers and Trump going after the compensation of the prior malfeasant, broken, two-tiered kangaroo courts.
Yes, and You folks were abused, and I think it's a very justified lawsuit, 100%. We talked off the air. Please share with our viewers. We've got some J6 political prisoners still behind bars, Jake.
Yes, unfortunately, there are still some deeply embedded ticks in the DOJ that are trying to get their last pound of flesh out of the Jan Sixers. And so we have Edward Kelly, U.S. Marine, father to a 2-year-old and 7-year-old son, who's being held right now, waiting sentencing on a different federal case that sprung up only because he's a January 6er. The FBI actually made some type of comments about a revenge plot that they wanted to do against Edward because of the January 6th case. And then they raided his home based off that. And they found a list that he had allegedly made. And they're trying to charge him with, life, basically crimes that could leave him in prison for the rest of his life. And so we're advocating for Edward Kelly's release. We have Elias Costanis, who was brought in for a gun charge. And, the judge is the only one, even the prosecution is saying that he needs to go home, and the judge is blocking it. And then we also have Taylor Toronto, another Jan Sixer. And don't forget Tina Peters, the election whistleblower from Mesa, Colorado, who I was outside her prison just a few days ago protesting and trying to get in on a First Amendment right media visit with my media credentials for Blessed News, and they blocked that. So, we're battling multiple fronts here, including other political prisoners for Second Amendment ghost guns and other kinds of things that only were raided and targeted by the FBI because they're Trump supporters. So, I met a half dozen or more of those type of people while I was in federal prison. So, the weaponization doesn't just end with Jan Sixers. It needs to be a complete clearinghouse of all of those people who persecuted us.
You are 100% right, my friend, and you've still got a million different projects you're working on. You're still as active as ever. You were active behind bars. You're even more active now as a free man. How can our viewers get behind and support your campaign for U.S. Senate, Jake?
So we have Take Back the Capitol. Uh-oh.
Okay. Are we still with him?
There we go. Okay, yeah, we have Take.
Okay.
Yes, I'm still here. TakeBackTheCapitol.com is the Senate campaign place where you can go and make a donation to our, this is a firebrand run, founding father style, no holds barred. We're coming to finish the mission of draining the swamp. And so you guys can go there. And if you want to donate to the Jan Sixers specifically, the guys that are still behind bars and the ones that are still rebuilding their lives, go to j6rebuild.com. So you got takebackthecapital.com and j6rebuild.com. And we appreciate you guys so much there.